Blue Beetle Graduation Day issue 1. Josh Trujillo and Adrian Gutierrez on the art.
Mm-hmm.
So I jumped into this. I was a little bit worried that I got like a weird version because like some of the dialogue from the parents and stuff was in Spanish, and I'm like, wait, is this supposed to be translated into English, or what's going on here?
So I'll say this: I accidentally downloaded the Spanish language one. I was able to fix it, but I couldn't figure out why there was two. There were two had popped up. Able to do a swap real quick. We're not a big deal, but yeah, it would have helped with my Spanish, because I am semi okay in Spanish. But yeah, you still get the vibe of what they're going through if you just treat the words with the tone, which is good. I will just say, every Blue Beetle book I've read since the original from way back in the day has been kind of the same, and it's Jaime trying to keep his superhero life, right? It's very Peter Parker, Spider-Man.
Yeah.
But also with an alien bug talking to him. This feels like we're finally getting past that.
Yeah, it feels like
the whole graduation day vibe. I am so glad that we only spent a little bit of time on that.
The whole premise of it though is that it's the end of high school, so it's finally moving on to the next part of his life. But the aliens may be back, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Reach, the Scarab stops talking to him, and he's starting to get worried about it. Batman and Superman are worried about it because we see them, interact a little bit, and Superman even comes to like tell him to like, hey, stop being a Blue Beetle for a little while, stop doing superheroics because we saw that transmission that the Reacher may be coming back, and we kind of have to deal with it. But yeah, typically, every Blue Beetle thing I've ever read has been the same thing, which is fairly likable character with him and his group of friends, dealing with the fact that his parents are worried about him, and trying to balance that superhero normal life together, right? Try to balance those two things. And I think Blue Beetle could be a great character and he is a good character, but I think he could be like a character who has a nice long running comic book. I could see it being DC's Ultimate Spider-Man in many ways. Not Spider-Man in general, but their Ultimate Spider-Man specifically. I
agree, because he's this young dude that has so much. They could do so much with him. It kind of reminds me of Wally West when he took over as Flash and Wade was writing him. Right? There's so much you can do with this young character and establish this whole new, kind of get him away from the Reach and stuff.
I think
establish his more superhero-y thing.
Now, I've not read the original run from before the New 52 that made people fans of him, right? So I can't speak to it, and maybe that did. But I feel like everything I've read since, which is, he had that short-lived book at the start of Rebirth, he had something in New 52, he's popped up elsewhere. I feel like because we only get him in these short snippets, every time someone comes back to him, they feel like they have to go back to the core thing that make him, Jaime Reyes. So we get a repetition of the same ideas. What he really needs is a longer run of some kind, just so that a writer can get that out of their system,
right,
and just then go on to new stories.
Yeah.
But because someone comes to him and it's like, oh, they're just going to do, the next, we have to do the Reach again. We have to do him talking to the Scarab again. So
what I do like here is that it seems like the whole graduation day, we are going to get past that, but it's also reset to kind of early Blue Beetle, where in this, he doesn't understand it again because it starts speaking in Reach. And it's created this whole cluster that he's going to have to deal with. And so it finally felt like we're doing something new, but also, was familiar enough.
But with a comfort. It's kind of reminded me, like, every single time they do a new Cyborg series, it's like, oh, maybe this will be the one. This might be the one that does something cool with the character, does something new. And it's like, once again, he's part man, he's part machine. He's living with that, and his relationship with his father. And I'm like, I get why you come back to this, but it's like we joke and complain every so often when they have to show the pearls in the alleyway again with Batman.
Yeah.
But the simple fact with Batman is that those are small snippets of thousands of stories with different villains, with different journeys for Bruce that he's went on, where he's learned different things, he's got over different things, he's had different relationships with different people. Like, there's so much Bat history. And I'm not saying it like we have to give every character that much history, because that's absurd. Batman and Superman are always going to have more than every other character in DC. It's just the way it is. Yeah. But the simple fact is that imagine if Batman, instead of having the rogues gallery he does, every single time we got a Batman story, he started talking about his dead parents again, and it was about the one villain that ties. If it was, let's say they only had the Joker, there was no other Bat villains, so every time it was the Joker, and every single time it somehow brought up the memory of his dead parents. That was every single Batman story. That's kind of like what reading every single time they start a new Cyborg or Blue Beetle Jaime Reyes book is like.
Yeah.
It's always the same elements, just, maybe slightly altered or maybe slightly, whatever, but never really advancing.
Yeah. So that's what I like that this did here, is that it set up that he's at this crossroads, that his friends are going off to college, but he's going to stay in town and work, what was it, for his uncle?
Yes, diner, I think he said.
At a diner, right, while he decides what he wants to do. And while he's going through this, his scarab starts acting up again. And that's where we realize the Reach is coming. And so he is at this crossroads now where he wants to do his own thing, but he's getting pulled back into,
I just want to say,
else.
like that rant I just went on, that's not to say that I think the writing in this is bad, or that it's not, a easy read and it flows well enough. The art is, it's not necessarily, like, the faces aren't always to my taste, I would say. It's got kind of a...
There's a style to it, though, where it feels like it's this artist's style, and I'm okay with that. It's kind of like Clayton Henry, right? As we get on about him with the look of his faces, but that's his style. So I'm okay, because at least it's consistent. It feels very manga-esque to me, to where there are these big,
it's a little,
big expressions on the face, where like a smile takes up the whole head.
It's the eyes and the mouths kind of like are wide and take up a lot of room. There's kind of a... And the big cliffhanger, though, is that, he's with his friends, and there's a report of someone that looks like they're in... It's like a female Blue Beetle-esque suit. It's not blue, it's yellow and black, but this is maybe... Right. I mean, someone who is an arch nemesis, or possibly a love interest by the time he meets her. Who knows?
Right.
But... clearly it wants to do different things with them, and that's great, but definitely a lot of this issue felt like, I've read a lot of these beats kind of with prior Blue Beetle stories, and I've not read a lot of Jaime Reyes. Like, I feel like I've never finished any of these books. I always like read the first couple and I try to keep up with them, and then they always end up just falling through the cracks because they never feel like must reads. And I would love it. I would love it if a Blue Beetle book felt like a must read.
I'm definitely going to try to stick with this one, just because it is a mini, and we'll see where it, it ends up. Like if he's going to get his own book again, which I think would be cool, but yeah. Palmyra City is where he's going to go. That's right.
I don't think he'll get an ongoing. Maybe they'll do the thing they did with Ivy, where if it sells well enough, and I doubt it, but if it does sell well enough, maybe they'll extend it to 12 or something.
Yeah. I also like that Superman comes. I'm going back through it. Superman comes and talks to him for his graduation, because he wants to tell him about the Reach. I do like their whole interaction. Superman feels very much like not an elder statesman, but like as an alien, as like this guy that's of Earth. He's the perfect person to come and talk to Jaime. So I thought that was a real fun, where they tell him that he's grounded, because they can't risk him, being compromised. I thought that was a real fun scene. It was a very a nice, light, fun read. And it made me, reading the parent stuff in Spanish, made me, flex those muscles that are kind of rusty. So, thoroughly enjoyed. So, yeah.
All right, what are you giving Blue Beetle?
I'm going to give this a 7.5.
Yeah, I think this is a 7 for me. It's an easy enough read. I'm not sure, like, depending on how many books are out when issue 2 comes out, I'll see if I feel like reading the second one. But I don't feel like I need to, based on this first issue. It's perfectly fine. There's not too much wrong with it, other than just feeling like, going through a lot of the same things that I feel like Jaime always seems to deal with.